this is Daniel Mart back again. I'm an actor and filmmaker based out of South Florida, and for this video, I'm going to be doing my top 30-ish movies, Christmas movies, holiday movies, winter movies, whatever you want to call it movies, that should be on the Criterion channel. So I did a couple of videos like this similar to this back in Halloween, back in October. I did the top 30 movies, horror movies, that should be on the Criterion channel, and then top 30 horror movie collections, or top 15 better said, horror movie collections that should be in the Criterion channel. For this one, I'm going to be doing just a straight top 30-ish, and the reason I say ish is because there are a few collections here, but I didn't really think it warranted enough to do a whole separate list. And yes, even though the title does say Christmas movies here, I decided to expand this just a little bit into other genres, I guess you could say. So it's just not strictly Christmas. I do have a few just general winter movies, as well as a few other non-Christmas movies. So like, I have a few Hanukkah movies or Hanukkah-based movies, and I even have a Thanksgiving movie just because I didn't even know where to throw it on. Like, it's one of those things where I don't know what other list this would have made it on, so let me just throw it here on a Christmas list and just gonna go from there. Yeah, we have about 30, slightly over 30 movies to get to because of some of the collections I want to talk about here as well. So let's just get on to the list. Alright, so the first one here is King of Kings from 1927. And yes, I'm going to go in order of release year. And here we have 1927, The King of Kings. Now, this one is actually a reissue. Way back in the day when Criterion first started, they actually had this in their collection. However, it's been stuck on DVD. It's never gotten a Blu-ray release. It's never gotten a 4K release. And as far as I know, it's only ever been stuck on DVD. And they haven't reissued it since it first originally came out. So if anything, this would be a reissue. Yes, Christmas, we could talk about how it's all about the presents, it's all about watching movies, and all that. But at the end, you have to remember what Christmas is truly about. Christmas is about the birth of Christ, about Jesus Christ himself. And I think this would be a very great way, one, for Criterion to go back to their roots. Again, this is one of their first movies that they ever put out on the collection period. And two, go back to the roots of Christmas itself. Again, Christmas is about Jesus Christ himself. Also, Criterion is known for putting a lot of different silent films on the collection in their repertoire. So for them to go back and put one of the most iconic silent films of all time, and two, put one of the movies that put them on the map as well very early on, would just be great. The King of Kings is an amazing movie. It's one that I guess you could say has been remade time and time again. Even this year, we had an animated movie called The King of Kings. I'm pretty sure that was Angel Studios, because they also just came up with the Book of David animated movie. And I think this would be a very great way to start off just Christmas in general. I think, yes, we could talk about watching something like Home Alone or Elf or It's a Wonderful Life, and those are great movies, do not get me wrong. But again, we want to go back to, especially for Christmas, we want to go back to what is Christmas truly about. And it's about celebrating our Savior, celebrating the birth of our Savior. One of the best movies to do that with would be The King of Kings. I mean, it's such an amazing movie. Especially for the time, like, it's basically an epic. It's an epic movie with the grand scale of everything that's going on in that movie. And it basically takes us through the Gospels. Essentially, I would say, it takes us through the life of Jesus. From birth, life, and death. It's such an amazing movie. I definitely think you should all check it out. And in terms of Jesus stories, yes, we can talk about the Passion of the Christ. For example, I think that would be the next big one. And yes, The Last Temptation of Christ, which is on the Criterion channel. This seems to be such a great one that it's so highly well regarded, especially compared to even those two. In terms of Jesus stories, this is one of the more iconic ones as well. So definitely just a great way to bring it back to the collection, a great reason to bring it back to the collection. And yes, this is what I think should be back on the collection. That's the funny thing. Like in the previous Criterion videos, I never said, oh, these should be back on. No, I just said these should be on. But in this case, this would be a reissue. And honestly, seeing this with either Blu-ray or 4K restoration, I think would be just even more amazing on top of that. So definitely, I think this one should really just be reissued. I don't know how it goes then, like when it comes to rights. But, if not them, I hope somebody gets the rights to this movie eventually, so we could get a Blu-ray or 4K restoration, because I think this is one that truly does deserve it in general. Next up, we have Remember the Night from 1940. So this is a Barbara Stanwyck, Fred McMurray movie. They did a lot of movies back in the day, and this was their Christmas movie, essentially. Basically, the plot of this movie is that Barbara Stanwyck, she's a shoplifter, she gets caught, and Fred McMurray, he's the lawyer who's trying to get her into jail, and he feels bad for her that she has to spend the night in jail, the Christmas week in jail, essentially. So he bails her out, and through comedic circumstances, as always is, they fall in love. I thought this was a pretty cute movie. I'll be honest, there's a bunch of these movies here that I watched for the first time just to make this list. And yeah, I thought this was honestly a very cute movie. I really very much enjoyed it. And it's one of those movies that I feel to a certain extent it gets forgotten because of when it came out in comparison to some of the other major movies during this time. I feel it's one of those movies that kind of has just been forgotten over time. It's a movie I've never heard of, honestly, until I started doing research for this list. And yeah, I thought it was a really cute movie. I feel like we have a lot of movies in the Criterion collection that are kind of in this vein where they're cute. They're cute and cuddly, I guess is the best way to word it. You know, they're cutesy. You know, they're not that big, but because there are so many other quote-unquote better movies, either A, within their genre, and within their time, that this one just kind of seems to be forgotten. Like, I would say something like maybe It's a Wonderful Life probably overshadows it, you know? Like, the kind of the comparison I'm going to be giving for a lot of these movies is almost like Midnight. I feel like Midnight's a movie that really got a resurgence because it was added into the Criterion collection. You know, I feel like it's a movie that at the time people liked, but didn't really test the time. What is it? Test the time? Whatever that expression is. Test the tail of time? Whatever that expression is, you know? I feel when it got into the Criterion collection, when it was added to the collection, I feel like Midnight got a huge boost in popularity. I feel if you do this with some of these other movies, it could be the same thing. I think Remember the Night could really benefit from having that huge boost in popularity. Notice I thought it was a pretty cute movie. I really did like the romance between the two characters, between Barbara Stanwyck's character and Fred McMurray's character. There were some very interesting moments of just dramatic tension, especially when they went to go visit her family, because her family doesn't really, one, they don't agree with her lifestyle, and two, they just seem to be terrible people, even in general, even within the type of life that they live in. And it was just pretty interesting to see where she comes from versus where Fred McMurray's character comes from. Yes, he also does come from a life of poverty, but it's a life of humble poverty. Where, like, yes, we worked for everything we wanted, but we're humble about it, as opposed to her family where it just seems like, hey, we get it, and we deserve it type of situation, you know? So I really like this. I did think that the romance, again, I really enjoyed the romance. You know, it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's a typical 1930s, 1940s romance, you know, criminal and upstanding individual, whatever. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was cute. And I think this definitely, if it was in the collection, it would definitely have a boost in sales popularity for this movie. I think it'd be great, honestly, for it. So yes, add it to the collection. Next up, we have Christmas in Connecticut. I mean, honestly, similar to Remember the Night, I think this is one that's been kind of forgotten over time. I don't think it has been forgotten as much as Remember the Night. Honestly, I think this one is one that's still talked about. Now, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie, specifically its ending. I thought its ending was very much rushed. Like, the last 10, 15 minutes, I thought it was kind of rushed at the end. But everything before that, I thought was just very fun. It was very cute. You know, there was a huge element of this movie where I felt like it was kind of being made up on the spot, and you know, I kind of went along with it. It's really those last 10-15 minutes that not necessarily that it ruined the movie for me, but it's one of those things that I just wish it would have ended in a different way. It basically is what it comes down to. But overall, this is again another great movie in general. I feel like this is one that, although not as much as Remember the Night, I do feel like this is another one of those movies that has been kind of forgotten about over time. That being said, I do feel like Christmas in Connecticut is one that people do talk about. Funny enough, back in like the 90s, Arnold Schwarzenegger, of all people, did a remake of this movie. And yes, he directed that movie. So, and I think that's his only directorial effort, at least from what I understand. I don't know, maybe he like directed a few, I don't know, workout videos or something for one of his documentaries, but apparently there's that, so maybe, I don't know, throw that in as a bonus feature for the main Christmas in Connecticut movie. That'd be kind of funny. So you have that. I don't know, I just think that would be kind of funny. But overall, for this movie in general, I think it'd be really cool. Again, you boost the popularity of this movie, you boost the notoriety of this movie a bit more if you put it on the collection. I think it'd be great. Honestly, I think this is one of those movies that a lot of people would honestly buy. It'd be one of those movies that people kind of, oh yeah, remember they exist, you know? Because again, I think we all stick to Miracle on 34th Street and Wonderful Life and The Bishop's Wife and some of these other movies that came out during this time. We kind of forget some of these other movies that came out during this time as well, like this one, like Connecticut, or Remember the Night, or some of the other movies I'm about to mention. So yeah, it's honestly, it's an incredible movie. I really do think it should be added to the collection. Again, those last 10-15 minutes don't really work for me. I think it's a very much rush, but it kind of is what it is. Not every single movie is perfect. And yeah, the next 3 movies, these are probably some of the most iconic Christmas movies of all time, which really shocks me that none of these 3 are in the collection. So yeah, let's get on to it. The first most iconic Christmas movie of all time that somehow is not in the collection, it is It's a Wonderful Life. How the hell is It's a Wonderful Life not on the Criterion collection? My theory is it's because, I'll be honest, I forgot which studio made It's a Wonderful Life right now, but I think it's because they're actively, like almost every 5 years, they actively put like some special edition of It's a Wonderful Life out there into the ether. I mean, I quite literally just bought, granted the one from like 2020, but I bought their most recent like anniversary collection, the 75th anniversary collection. So it's probably like, what, 80 years old now? So there's that too. Which, wow, that movie's 80 years old. Yeah, I think that's the main reason this movie's not on the collection, just because of the fact that, like, every couple of years they come out with a special edition of this movie. But it is just crazy to me that It's a Wonderful Life. I would say this is probably the most iconic Christmas movie of all time. Not the most iconic Christmas story. We'll get to that later. But I feel like when it comes to, like, just pure Christmas movies, this probably is the Christmas movie to beat them all, you know? Yes, I personally am more of a fan of Home Alone, for example, and Frosty the Snowman and stuff like that. But like, I would say when it comes to like pure Christmas movies, it would have to be It's a Wonderful Life. You know, not to take away anything from like, let's say, Blast of Silence, but like, are you really gonna tell me that Blast of Silence, which is on the collection, is more of a Christmas movie than It's a Wonderful Life? You know, granted, I would say Blast of Silence is kind of more of an alternative Christmas movie, so take that for what you will, but. Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. I feel like, do I really need to explain why It's a Wonderful Life should be on the collection? Like, it's one of those things, do I really need to explain? I mean, it's Jimmy Stewart, Frank Capra, you know, it's, again, one of the most iconic Christmas movies of all time. Need I say more? You know, every time a bell rings and Angel gets his wings, I mean, what else do I need to say? It's the Christmas movie to beat them all. I mean, we literally just had, like, 2 years ago, a, like, slasher remake of It's a Wonderful Life called It's a Wonderful Knife. You know, like, this is a story that's been remade, retold, parodied, whatever, like time and time again. iCarly had an episode where it was something like this, you know, where they parodied the crap out of this movie. Like, It's a Wonderful Life. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, I don't really know what else do I need to justify past It's a Wonderful Life. And on that note, we also have It's a Miracle on 34th Street. Again, another iconic Christmas movie. Do I really need to explain why A Miracle on 34th Street should be on the collection? I mean, come on. Arguably, and very much arguably, has one of the best incarnations of Santa Claus ever. I mean, it's also Natalie Wood. This is also one of Natalie Wood's first roles. I mean, what else do I need to say? Similar to It's a Wonderful Life. Like, what else do I need to say? It's A Miracle on 34th Street. The one thing I would say for this one, and it's basically the same thing I said for Christmas in Connecticut. It would be kind of interesting if, as a bonus feature, they added a remake to Miracle on 34th Street, because they did one like back in the 90s, like 93, 94, 95, somewhere around there. They did a remake of this movie. And from what I understand, that was actually also pretty like held in high regards, generally speaking. People generally like that movie as well. So maybe add the remake as a bonus feature. I think that'd be kind of fun as well, so why not? But it's one of those things, like, again, do I really need to explain why Miracle on 34th Street, again, one of the most iconic Christmas movies of all time, needs to be on the Criterion collection? This is a series of movies like this, what last one I just talked about, It's a Wonderful Life, this one, and the next one I'm about to talk about. These 3 are crazy that they're not on the Criterion collection. And this one, I don't even know what the excuse would be for it not being on the collection, honestly. At least with It's a Wonderful Life, I could kind of understand, because the studio that owns it, they always come out with like these special editions type of things. Miracle on 34th Street, I have no idea what its excuse would be. I guess, I don't know, is it owned by Disney right now? Is it owned by Disney? Maybe, I don't know. I know it streams on Disney Plus, so maybe it's because it's owned by Disney. But like, even then, Disney sometimes gives their stuff to Criterion. I mean, they have Wally on the collection, so I don't know what the excuse would be for this one for not to be on the collection. I mean, I also won a few Academy Awards if I'm not mistaken, right? Like I just said, most iconic Santa, Edmund Gwenn, he literally won Best Supporting Actor for playing Santa. I mean, that alone should be a reason why this is on the Criterion collection. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, and then the last one of the most iconic Christmas movies to not be on the Criterion collection, we have The Bishop's Wife. I would say out of the three that I just discussed, It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street, and The Bishop's Wife. If I had to say at least one of these is most definitely on the collection, it would have been The Bishop's Wife. I feel like this is one of those movies that, forget the Christmas of it all, I feel like this is one of those Christmas movies that, just tell me a random rom-com movie from like the 30s, 40s, 50s that a lot of people really very much enjoy. And yes, it's most definitely on the collection because I feel like that's kind of the wheelhouse that Criterion sometimes works in. Honestly, like I feel like The Bishop's Wife is almost tailor-made to be on the Criterion collection. Kind of surprised, out of those three, I was super surprised that The Bishop's Wife was not on the collection. I think it's such a charming movie. I mean, Cary Grant, he basically had Riz on command. Go on Letterboxd very fast. Go on Letterboxd for The Bishop's Wife and look at the reviews. A lot of those reviews are basically that Cary Grant had Riz on command. What's that meme called? The guy she tells you to worry about you versus the guy she tells you to worry about, and he's an angel sent from God. Like, some of the most hysterical reviews I've ever seen on Letterboxd come from this movie, from The Bishop's Wife. Not that should be a reason why Criterion should add a movie to the collection because of the Letterboxd reviews, but definitely go on them and just check them out. It is some of the most funniest stuff I've ever seen. This one, out of those three movies, I feel like this was almost tailor-made to be on the Criterion collection. Again, for those who don't know what this movie is about, because I do feel like out of the three movies, this is also the one movie that many people probably have heard of a lot, but not necessarily know what it's about. But basically, long story short, a reverend, played by David Niven, by the way, he portrays like a priest, a reverend who's trying to open up this church, and because of that, his family life is kind of falling apart. He's not paying attention to his wife, who's portrayed by Loretta Young, by the way. He's not paying attention to his wife and his child, and he literally prays for answers for God to guide him, and God sends him Cary Grant, an angel, and the priest, his version of guidance is like, hey, guide me to open up the church, whereas the angel's version of guidance is, hey, let me help this guy guide his way to fixing his family, essentially. But it's one of those things that he's also an angel, and there's even a line which I find it to be a very interesting line for him to say, and I really enjoyed the line because it really makes you think. But it's one of those things, it's a very curious thing when an angel becomes jealous of mortal man, because eventually the angel, Cary Grant, starts falling in love with Loretta Young, which I don't blame him, to be honest with you. It's Loretta Young. And that's really what it comes down to. It's a rom-com of that proportion. Honestly, I thought it was a very touching story. I thought it was a really great story. I didn't realize how, religious the movie would be. I guess it's a kind of weird way to put it. And I mean this religious in a good sense. Like, they have religion here as a good middle ground sometimes. When the main character is an angel, I guess you kind of have to have it be some kind of middle ground. So there's that too. But overall, I thought this was a very charming story. And again, this is, out of the three of them that I talked about, I'm surprised The Bishop's Wife isn't on the collection at all. Again, tailor-made to be on the collection. Definitely check out those Letterboxd reviews. They are hysterical. Next up, we have It Happened on Fifth Avenue. And this one, again, I'm just going to use the Midnight Excuse. Fun movie from awesome. By the way, this movie came out in 1947, the same year as The Bishop's Wife and Miracle on 34th Street. 1 year after It's a Wonderful Life. 2 years after Christmas in Connecticut. So yeah, this movie got really screwed over based on when it came out of, for being a Christmas movie on top of everything else. For this one, I'm just going to use the Midnight Excuse. This is a movie that was popular at the time, but because of when it came out and its competition being, again, some of the best Christmas movies of all time, it really wasn't allowed to rise above its baseline, so to speak. And over time, it's been forgotten. Again, I've never heard of this movie until I did research to do this video. And I found this to be such a charming movie as well. Again, if anything, this is very much like Midnight, like almost to a T, and the way its plot structure works out, where everything just kind of happens, pure sheer dumb luck, in the best way possible, and in the most comedic way possible. But yeah, I think this is one that definitely added to the collection. Have the Midnight effect just go on it, where popular at the time, sure, has it been held up to high regard now, up until it was added to the collection. Now people will love it again. Give it this treatment. Again, this movie happened on Fifth Avenue alongside Christmas in Connecticut. Remember the Night? Do that. Give it that effect. It's a very fun movie. This is about a group of homeless people, homeless for different reasons, and they all decide to squat at this mansion. Eventually, the owner of the mansion finds out, and then he pretends to be a homeless person just to spy on the people who are squatting in his house. And there's also kind of a rom-com. I'll be honest with you, the romantic subplots in this movie doesn't entirely work for me. It's one of those things that almost feels like a bit of an afterthought. That's why. But even that aside, I thought it was a really fun movie, really great movie, really funny movie, honestly. So yeah, just again, add it to collection, have the midnight effect, essentially. Let the effect happen and just kind of go from there and watch it rise in popularity over the years if it's ever added onto the Criterion collection. Alright, next up we have The Holiday Affair from 1949. And do I need to say it again? The Midnight Effect. Just the Midnight Effect. And yeah, I feel like for some of these earlier movies, I feel like once we get out into the 60s, I should probably stop using this excuse. But I'll be honest, like, the Midnight Effect is kind of the thing I'm banking on for some of these earlier movies. I feel like some of these movies, you probably guys have never heard of it. So The Holiday Affair, it's about this woman who, her job is kind of weird. I don't know if it's a job that still exists to this day, if I'm being honest with you, but it's one of those things where she's a shop comparison shopper or customer or something like that, where she buys a product from a store to compare it with another store, and then she returns it. Again, I'm not even sure that job still exists. Maybe it does. I'm just not aware of it. But that's basically what she does. And she gets caught. The guy, the employee she tried to return her item back to, starts falling in love with her. She already has a boyfriend, but it's a boyfriend that she's not really... It seems like she's with him out of comfort, not out of true love, if that makes sense. And then the new guy that comes into the picture, it does seem like she starts to fall in love with him, but it's one of those things like, I just met you. I've known this guy for the past 2-3 years. Even though I'm not fully in love with him, I've known this guy for the past 2-3 years. And I thought this was a decent movie. I'll be honest, this wasn't my favorite movie on the list to watch. I thought that the romance was kind of an afterthought, if I'm being honest with you. This is Robert Mitchum. He played the main romantic lead, Janet Leigh. So yes, that Janet Leigh from Psycho, Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, Janet Leigh. I'll be honest, this is the first Janet Leigh movie I've seen that's not Psycho. I thought this was just a good movie. I genuinely thought this was just a good movie. So what I'm going to say next, it's not that I'm insulting the movie, but it's what I personally liked about this movie. But like I said, I didn't really care that much for the whole love triangle subplot element of it all. I did think there were some great moments of tension, especially at the dinner table. I think that's the most they were able to get out of that romance for that love triangle. And everything either before or after was just kind of like, whatever. But I will say that the kid in this movie, the kid who portrays her son, hysterical. If anything, there was a part of me that was just waiting for me to get back to the kid, because he had some of the best moments in this movie. Whether it be him checking through the presents to see if he got a train or not, or him returning the train because he felt bad for her, I guess, her mother's boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, or situationship, really. You know, for now that he's poor and broke and he has nothing to his name, stuff like that. Him quite literally just sending out his mother to his grandparents was hysterical. Like, that's the thing. Like, the kid in this movie, played by Gordon Gebert, he had the best moments in this movie, honestly. Like, I'm not gonna say he saved the movie, because overall it's still a good movie, but he definitely improved the movie. So if you want to look for, like, just an out of nowhere great kid performance, go to this movie. It's hysterical. Next up, we have The Lemon Drop Kid from 1951. This is a Bob Hope movie, so I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a Bob Hope movie until I saw this movie. I thought this was a really good movie. I will say it is a little bit forgettable. I'll be honest, I probably saw this movie 3, 4, 5 years ago, and there's already parts of me that have already forgotten parts of this movie, so I'm going to be honest with you. There is parts of this movie that is a bit forgettable. But I feel for, again, the Midnight Excuse. I'm going to be honest with you. This is another movie that falls under the Midnight Excuse, where you can throw it on the collection. People will remember that this movie exists and want to order it, buy it, and watch it again for the holidays, and can just go from there. I will say there is, because this is actually a remake of another movie called The Lemon Drop Kid from like the 1930s. Now, from what I understand, they don't really share much of anything except for the name. So I'm not really sure if a remake is appropriate to label it here, but from what I understand, it's like the same name. The characters are still the same, but it's a completely different plot. So if anything, you can maybe throw the 1931 version as a bonus feature on here. That'd be pretty nice, I guess. But yeah, I mean, what's this movie about? You basically have this gambler who basically told the wrong person, a mafia member, to gamble on the wrong horse, and then he got screwed over because, like, oh crap, wait, I didn't realize I was telling you, a mafioso, the wrong information. let me try to backtrack it out of it now. He wasn't able to backtrack it. So what he does now is, in order to regain the money, he tries to open up this, not orphanage, what's it called, like an old person's home, like a retirement home. And through some way through that, he's able to embezzle money to save his hind, essentially. I will say that the ending also didn't really work for me. I did feel like it came out, not out of left field. I just felt like it was a little bit convoluted the way it ended. But even that aside, everything before it I thought was pretty good. It was pretty fun. It was pretty funny. It was quaint. Like, that's the other thing. Like, again, you're competing against movies like Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life and The Bishop's Wife. Like, this is one of those movies that just kind of got lost in the shuffle. And even then, I don't think this movie was that well regarded at the time. I think it was like mostly mixed reviews, which also makes sense. But overall, I thought it was a fun movie, even if I am starting to forget certain details about it, even just a few days after watching it. Look, it just is what it is. I definitely do think, again, the Midnight Effect would definitely take into effect here. If you add it into the collection, people would definitely like remember it, like it, love it, and buy it, and just kind of go from there. I think it'd be great. I think it's one that will benefit the collection a lot. Or I think, better said, this would be benefited a lot by being on the collection, better said. Yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say to this movie. Bob Hope, I think he gave a great performance, honestly. Probably one of the best comedic performances I saw out of these run of movies I have here from like the late 40s to early 60s. So there's that too. I thought it was great, pretty funny. Add it to the collection, just kind of go from there. The Lemon Drop Kid. Maybe add the remake, or sorry, add the original one from like 1931. Granted, I'm not really sure how similar it is plot-wise to this movie, but people say it's a remake of that one, even though they don't share the plot, so je que sais. But yeah, maybe add that as a bonus feature. Gonna go from there. Next movie we have is Alright, next up we have, from 1951, we have Diary of a Country Priest. And this would actually be another reissue. And this is actually a Robert Bresson film, and they have a lot of Bresson films on the collection as is. This is a movie that actually inspired Ingmar Bergman when he did his movie White Winter Lights, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's a movie that was inspired for it. Winter Lights. There was also a movie a few years ago called First Reformed that was also heavily inspired by this movie. I think First Reformed is very, very highly well regarded. So I would say like this one, again, similar to King of Kings, we have those two things going for it. One, it'd be a reissue. It's been stuck on DVD for I don't know how many years, maybe even decades at this point. It's been stuck on DVD for that long. And it's the fact that we're getting back to that religiosity of it all. Yes, we touched it a bit with the Bishop's Wife, but this is a movie that's more concerned about the actual religion, about Christianity and Catholicism. It's about this priest who's kind of just, I guess, sick of being a priest, I guess is the best way to word it. And he's just trying to find his motivation again, and motivation through God, and just praying to him, talking to him, and saying, hey, what do you want me to do now? Again, yes, you can watch all these great movies, The Bishop's Wife, It's a Wonderful Life, all these great movies, but I think to a certain extent, you do need to take it back to what the true meaning of Christmas is, which is all about Christ himself, all about God. And granted, this isn't in the same nature as King of Kings, where it quite literally is about Jesus Christ himself, but this is one of those things with this movie where you at least get back to the source in a sense. Again, back to just religion in general, back to Christianity. I think it'd be very great. This would be a reissue of the movie. Again, it's been stuck on DVD for, again, I don't know how many years, decades possibly. I think it would be very great and would benefit this movie a lot if this movie would get a Blu-ray and or a 4K restoration. I think it would help out a lot with this movie, especially given how many movies it inspired. Again, Winter Lights is regarded as one of Ingmar Bergman's best movies. Likewise, First Reformed, that's a huge movie that's come out in the past 10 years that a lot of people truly enjoy and love, to the point that a lot of people thought that Ethan Hawke should have won the Academy Award for that year's Oscar, when he wasn't even nominated. I'm pretty sure the screenplay for First Reformed was nominated though, so I think there's that too. But I feel just like for how much of an impact this movie has had on the film industry with some of these other movies that followed up after it, I think it'd be kind of a shame not to have this be reissued into the collection. And again, I think it goes back to that. We sometimes need to go back to some of these movies that we can't get anymore and see if we can get them again. And I think it'd be great in this regard of Diary of a Country Priest. And again, they have a bunch of Bresson films on the collection, so it's kind of wild that this one, for whatever reason, isn't in the collection. I almost feel that they should do like a Robert Bresson collection, similar to the Agnes Varda collection, or Eric Romer collections, or Paolini collections, or even like the Wes Anderson collection that just came out this year. Do that and just collect a bunch of Robert Bresson films and just add them as a box set and kind of just go from there. And I think this one will be a great addition to that box set. Alright, the next movie we have is actually my first collection of movies, to be honest with you, which we have. So next up we have a collection of movies, the first collection of movies I have on this top 30 list, and that is the Christmas Carol collection. And for this one, I only have 2 Christmas Carol movies here. I have the one from 1951, which is also known as Scrooged, and then the version from 1984. I feel like the 1984 version is probably the most iconic version, the one with George C. Scott. But I feel like the 1951 version is kind of like the classic version that everybody's probably seen like in elementary school or middle school that they just put up on the TV. I did consider maybe putting the Muppets Christmas Carol movie. I know a lot of people like that one, to be honest with you. But the thing is, I'll be honest, I just haven't seen it, and I didn't really have time to watch it this year, so I didn't really feel like adding it on the list. I know there's the animated version, but I don't feel like that one is that highly well regarded. I do know there's like a few silent versions of it, or like a very old, like black and white versions of it, but no, I didn't check those out. So I feel like these two are pretty much the best baseline we have here. Again, the 1951 version, also known as Scrooge. I feel a lot of people like generally like that one. Again, I feel like that's the when it comes to just basic baseline, what is a Christmas Carol? I feel a lot of people go to this one. And then the 1984 version, I feel like that's the one that a lot of people just grew up with in general. I always feel like the 1951 version is the version that our grandparents grew up with. The 1984 version is the one our parents grew up with. And then which version did we grow up with? I don't know. I guess the animated version. So take that for what you will. But yeah, I feel like it'd be kind of weird not to have a Christmas Carol mentioned somewhere here on the list in general. And this just made sense to me. I mean, again, when I discussed It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life may be the most iconic Christmas movie. But what's the most iconic Christmas story? It's this one, A Christmas Carol. I mean, do I even need to say more? Again, this is like It's a Wonderful Life. It's similar to Miracle on 34th Street. Like, do I really need to say why A Christmas Carol should be on the collection? Now, yes, we get into the semantics of which one should be in the collection. You know, and I do definitely see an argument for the Muppets Christmas Carol, but I feel like just these two are best baselines. Is the one that are, generally speaking, are the most well-liked. Again, with the exception of maybe the Muppets version. Yeah, I think why don't we have a version of A Christmas Carol on the collection? Is what it comes down to. So let's just add it here, kind of go from there. Next. Alright, next up we have White Christmas from 1954. We finally have, a movie in color. I guess if you exclude the Christmas Carol from 1984. This is our first colored movie, and this is also our first musical. I think we have like 1 or 2 other musicals down the line, depending how you want to define musical. So, there we go. This movie, I think it's one that's still generally well known, especially with the White Christmas song that comes out every year, which, funny enough, wasn't actually made for this movie. So take that for what you will. But it's very much associated with this movie because, well, I mean, the title, White Christmas, would make sense to come from a movie that's called White Christmas. Again, take that for what you will. I feel like this is kind of a Christmas in Connecticut situation where people do know this movie. People do like this movie. So it's not as unknown, so to speak, as Holiday Affair, Lemon Drop Kid. It's not as unknown as those movies, but I feel like even then, the Midnight Effect kind of still can apply to this one where, you know, you just boost it up a bit and people will still remember it. I think this is one that, again, people still generally know. It's Bing Crosby, for God's sakes. You can't really forget that many Bing Crosby movies. And he's always iconic in whatever he does. So I think people will still like it regardless. Again, I think just boosting popularity up a bit will be very beneficial for this movie. I think people will like it a lot. Yeah, this movie's about Bing Crosby and his partner. They get intertwined with a fellow sister act, you know, because they're performers, so they kind of get involved with a female group of performers. And these two groups have to basically help save this hotel from dying, from, you know, losing its business, essentially. I thought this was a very cute movie. I very much like it. The musical numbers are great, as expected when it comes from a Bing Crosby movie. I mean, again, he's one of those guys from this time, just like Frank Sinatra, for example, or even Elvis, where you know the music's going to be good because it's this person performing the music, you know? Similar to like a Fred Astaire movie, or, you know, or a Frank Sinatra movie. Like, you know, it's going to be good. It's going to be a great musical because these people are performing, you know? You sing them with Elvis, like, it's one of those people where you just know it's going to be a good movie because they're performing. They're performing the music. It's not really about the plot. Realistically, this is one of those movies where the plot isn't as important because it's really all about the music. That being said, it still has a pretty decent plot. I really did very much enjoy this movie. And again, just add it to the collection, I think people would just like, oh yeah, this movie exists. It's a really great movie. And wait, White Christmas is not in this soundtrack? What's that about? So yeah, next up we have Placido from 1961. This is the first international movie I've decided to mention on this list. This movie is from Spain, and it's directed by Luis Garcia Berlanga. I'll be completely honest, I didn't really like this movie. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I thought it was alright at best. I just wasn't as high on it as most other people are on this movie. This movie is about this taxi driver who's trying to gain money to pay off his bills right before the Christmas season begins, and just comedy ensues. And I'll be honest, I really wasn't the biggest fan of this movie. So why am I talking about a movie that I don't particularly care for to be added onto the collection? Now, first off, like I said, this is Berlanga. Berlanga is a highly admired Spanish director, especially for his time. I'll be honest, I've never heard of Berlanga before I searched up this movie, so can't really comment to you if his movies are good. That being said, he already has a movie on the Criterion collection called The Executioner, which a lot of people seem to enjoy. I feel like to a certain extent, if you already have one movie in the collection, why not add more of your movies in the collection? So there's that too. And again, my thoughts on this movie seems to be more of a hot take, of an unpopular opinion. Because again, a lot of people really do admire, really do love this movie. There's a lot of like modern day directors that look up to this movie. Like Guillermo del Toro, I think is the biggest example of a director who really likes this movie. Again, I just didn't really connect with it that much, but I think still it'd be nice to have a movie like this on the collection, especially if Berlanga is as big of a name as they claim him to be. Again, being one of the great Spanish directors, it seems kind of wild that only one of his movies, The Executioner, is on the collection. If that's the case, I feel like Berlanga should have way more movies on the collection. I almost feel like this is kind of a Yusuf Shaheen situation, where really you only have one movie by Yusuf Shaheen on the collection. He should have like 5, 6, 7 movies on the collection. I almost feel like that's the type of discussions people are having about Berlanga, that he should have like 5, 6, 7 movies on the collection, not just the one. And Placido, that's the Christmas movie that he made, so why not add it into the collection? Again, I didn't particularly care for this movie. I thought it was alright. I thought it was alright. I struggled to pay attention. That's what it came down to. I just struggled to care about the movie, care about the plot. But I could tell it was well directed. I could tell it was well directed and well written enough and well acted. I just failed to connect. That's what I'm gonna say. But you know what? It's okay to have a few alright movies on the collection. And this one, if it's just alright, if it's in the collection, it's not harming anybody. I probably wouldn't pick it up immediately, but have it there. Sure, why not? Somebody will pick it up. Have the Midnight Effect as well, and go from there. Next. Alright, next up we have the Christmas Cartoon Collection. So here I just decided to pile up some of the best and most well-known Christmas cartoons into a single collection. And here I have Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from 1964, A Charlie Brown Christmas from 1965, How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 1966, Frosty the Snowman from 1969, The Small One from 1978, and The Snowman from 1982. I just feel like it'd be nice to grab all these different iconic cartoons and just add them into one selection. And I feel like these are, in generally speaking, the most iconic ones of the bunch. I mean, How the Grinch Stole Christmas has how many remakes? Has at least 2 remakes, for God's sakes. Frosty the Snowman, that's a personal favorite of mine. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, do I even need to say it? Same thing with Charlie Brown Christmas. I think it also be pretty cool to say we have a Charlie Brown Christmas or any Charlie Brown cartoon on the Criterion collection, you know what I mean? And then The Small One and The Snowman, those are other 2 short films that people generally seem to like, even if The Snowman is basically a remake of Frosty the Snowman, so take that for what you will. Yeah, I feel like just having an overall cartoon collection of these shorts will be great. I mean, when we think about Christmas, we think about stuff like The Grinch. We think about stuff like Charlie Brown Christmas. For me, I think about Frosty. So it'd be kind of wild that why wouldn't they put out a collection of just these cartoon shorts for the collection? And they do have a lot of shorts on the collection. Like they have the Man Ray collection that just came out a few months ago, and that's a bunch of his short films. You have stuff like the Breckenridge collection that it's a bunch of his short films, So it'd be pretty cool to have that just for animation. And that's on top of the fact that they already do not have that much stuff in animation to begin with. It's just infusing the animation genre of Criterion with this shot of just great animation, 5, 6, 7 movies of animation. It'd be great, honestly. I think it'd be great for it to be in the collection. I think the main reason why this hasn't been added to the collection is because there are already a lot of similar collections to this where they compile a lot of these animated short films and and release them all in one go. I think that's the main reason why this hasn't been done. But honestly, if Criterion were to do this, it'd be great. It'd be fantastic. Next up, we have Fiddler on the Roof. This is a musical from 1971. It's like 3 hours long, by the way. And yeah, I think this one will be great on the Criterion Collection. Now, like I said earlier in the video, this video isn't just solely Christmas movies. I do have other genres of movies, like just winter movies, for example, just like solely winter movies, or movies based on other holidays. And I would say that this is kind of one of my Hanukkah picks, so to speak, because Hanukkah is also celebrated around this time. And, you know, I thought Fiddler on the Roof, it's one of those movies that I feel a lot of people talk about. A lot of people like the music, especially, you know, the one song, you know, If I Was a Rich Guy, I feel like I'm kind of screwing it up because I have the Christina Aguilera version also kind of stuck in my head, or Gwen Stefani version stuck in my head. But I feel like a lot of people know that one song, and they know the general plot of Fiddler on the Roof, but I feel like not many people have seen it. And I feel like if this is one of those movies that, not to the same extent to, let's say, Christmas in Connecticut, because I feel like this is one that a lot of people know, and again, it is a musical. I feel a lot of people know the music more than the actual movie itself, but I feel like you throw this onto the collection, and a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, that's right, this is also a movie. So I feel like it'd be great in that regard. And again, I think the one downside to this will be the fact that it's a 3-hour movie, and that's not to say that Criterion can't put a 3-hour movie on the collection. I just kind of wonder if people will actually buy it because of that alone. But I feel like most people would want it, would buy it. I mean, I'd probably buy it. It wouldn't be a first pick, I'll be honest with you, but I'd buy it down the line if it was on the collection. It'd be great. For one of the Hanukkah picks, I think this would be a great Hanukkah pick. And again, it kind of goes back to that religiosity, so to speak, of what Christmas is about. You know, again, granted, this is the Jewish religion, not the Christian religion, but we get to see some of those elements of what Christmas is about still within this movie, with, you know, us celebrating not just the gift giving, not just the Christmas spirit, but also celebrating what this what this holiday is actually about the birth of our Savior. Again, it's not really something they particularly discuss in this movie, also because it doesn't really focus on the holiday, so to speak, but overall, it's more so for the reminder of it. So overall, I think it'd be a great pick for there, and this is one of those Jewish movies I have there for that very reason. Next up, we have Black Christmas. So this is a movie that I actually did consider putting it on the horror list that I did a few months back. But back then, I kind of realized, oh, I should do this for Christmas. And this is one of those movies that very quickly made it onto this list, because I think it would be way more appropriate to talk about Black Christmas during a Christmas list than a horror list, to be honest with you. Granted, this is still the proverbial horror Christmas movie, I would say, above anything else. I mean, even before Halloween, this is basically your prototypical slasher. You know, Black Christmas. And I thought this was just a great movie. It was a very haunting movie. You know, it's a slasher, so you know there's some dumb decisions that are going to be made to get some of these girls killed. But yeah, that's kind of the one thing I was kind of surprised about this movie. I didn't realize there was like that many women characters in this movie, if that makes sense. I'll be honest, I've never seen this movie up until now. To a certain extent, that kind of took me aback. And I really did like the red herring character. You know, the character that was used as a red herring for like the actual killer. Peter, was that his name, Peter? So that was pretty cool to see that, because I don't think I'm not going to say it's never been done in slashers, it definitely has, but not to the effect, I would say, that this movie did it, where at the end, we still don't even know the killer, which is kind of an interesting twist, because usually by the end of the movie, we know who the killer is, we know who killed these people, but in this case, we don't know, and I was actually made purposely ambiguous to this. Honestly, a really great movie, and I just realized something very funny between this movie and my next movie. Holy crap. And then that was pure coincidence. Holy crap. I will say it has some very shocking deaths throughout the movie. I think everybody does talk about the very first death, the very first girl where she's suffocated in the bag, but I thought there were some other very shocking deaths, like the death of the sponsor, I guess that's what you call them, or like the nanny, whatever they are, the frat house nanny, sorority house nanny, whatever, like where she just killed in the basement. I thought that was a very shocking death. Or Margot Kidder, when she's killed, just stabbed in her bed. I thought that was a very shocking. Yes, again, a lot of people like to talk about the very first death, but honestly, I feel like some of the other deaths after it are just as shocking, if not more so shocking. And yes, you get people like Margot Kidder here. You also have Olivia Hussey as the main lead actress in this movie. I didn't expect that, to be honest with you. The only other movie I know her from, to be honest with you, is Romeo and Juliet. So for me to be like, oh, she's Juliet, to like this, and she's trying to fight off this killer. I was about to say Killer Santa, but not even. But you know, she's about to fight off this killer, and no, she actually has to kill her boyfriend because he may be the maybe the perpetrator. Oh, never mind. It's just great, and I think the ending is just very amazing. It's very haunting, and again, you usually know who the killer is by the end of the movie, but not in this case. Not in this case. Here's the funny thing: this movie is directed by Bob Clark. Bob Clark directed Black Christmas, but he also directed this next movie. And again, I did not intend for this to go like this. I just realized this right now. Happy coincidence. So the next movie is A Christmas Story. Yes, Bob Clark directed both Black Christmas in 1974 and then like 10 years later in 1983, he decides to direct A Christmas Story. You want to talk about like tonal whiplash for a guy's filmography? There you go. Like that is just incredible. You know, most directors would be happy to have one Christmas classic under their belt. This guy has two. And for this pick also, I'm not just going to say A Christmas Story. I'm going to say A Christmas Story Christmas, the sequel that came out like 3 years ago. I think this would be very good. Now, technically, there is a third Christmas Story movie. There technically is a Christmas Story 2 where it takes place in the summer for whatever reason. So I think it's like A Summer Story or whatever, which not many people like. I think it came out like a few years afterwards, like in 87, 88 or whenever that movie came out. Nobody remembers that movie. It was very like, everybody hated it, so we're not going to talk about that, but I did want to mention that one very fast. But I feel like this should be a double pack of A Christmas Story and A Christmas Story Christmas. I think both movies are just great. Again, A Christmas Story is one of those iconic Christmas movies of all time. Peter Billingsley, I believe was the kid's name, or the actor's name. You know, he did such an incredible job back then as a child, and you know, several years later, several decades later, he did a great job as the adult version in A Christmas Story Christmas. I feel like the sequel, A Christmas Story Christmas, was able to follow up in the appropriate manner to the original story in the best way possible. And then just for me personally, this year it really hit me because the movie A Christmas Story Christmas begins with the death of the old man, of his father. And if you guys know what I've been dealing with this year with my dad's cancer, you know, that's one of those things that kind of really did affect me when I was rewatching it this year. It's one of those things that really hit me like a ton of bricks. You know, just to lose the father right off the bat, the old man right off the bat. It very emotionally impactful. I will say A Christmas Story, the original one, is a lot better of a movie than A Christmas Story Christmas. That being said, I do think A Christmas Story Christmas is a worthy successor to it. If they're going to do a release of A Christmas Story, honestly, just add the sequel to it, A Christmas Story Christmas. Whether that be as a bonus feature or as a proper double pack or however you want to do it, I don't really care. As long as you add A Christmas Story Christmas, I think it'd be great. Next up, we have our Thanksgiving movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah, I mean, as it stands now, we don't have that many Thanksgiving movies. I mean, yes, we have Thanksgiving. There's the movie Thanksgiving from a few years ago, which is a slasher. We have Thanksgilling with a killer turkey, which Criterion is never going to put on the collection for obvious reasons, you know? But I can't really think of any other Thanksgiving movies. I mean, there's Pieces of April, which I found out was a Thanksgiving movie, so maybe there's that. But I would say that what's the most iconic Thanksgiving movie? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And from what I understand, since this is mostly an American holiday, other countries like in the UK and France and whatever, they just see this as another Christmas movie for themselves. So you know what? For the Europeans out there, here's another Christmas movie for you guys. I mean, this is such a comedic movie. It's definitely one of the best comedies of all time, for sure. You know, just having Dell having to deal with John Candy's character, you know, Steve Martin having to deal with John Candy's character throughout the whole movie. And then you just get to that emotional gut punch at the end. And it's one of those things that, yes, put up with him. But over time, you can definitely tell that he's starting to enjoy this guy's company. It's such a funny movie, such an iconic movie. It's one that, I'll be honest, to a certain extent, I'm kind of surprised that's not on the collection already. I'll be completely honest with you in that regard. It's such an incredible movie. I definitely do think you all should go check it out. And yeah, it's just great. It's just so funny. And you have so many absurdist moments, so many great bits of comedy. And I almost feel that with Pee-wee's Big Adventure now being in the collection, I feel like comedies like this, where they're a little bit more surrealist in a sense, because you do have that one scene where it gets very avant-garde and very surrealist, the near car crash scene, I guess you could say, where they're driving between the two trucks. I feel like that's the most absurdist thing or most surrealist thing I've seen in some time. It's so bonkers crazy. I think, you know what? I feel like if we could do that with Pee-wee's Big Adventure, where that's basically the whole MO of that movie. Why not let this movie live in the collection where its MO is only that for one scene, you know? It's such a great movie, so funny. John Candy. Do we have any John Candy movies on the collection now I think about it? I mean, there's another reason why you should add this movie into the collection. That'd be great. And again, we have our Thanksgiving pick here, so sure, why not? Next up, we have Die Hard. Yeah, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Why not? And for this one, I'm only going to say the first Die Hard. You don't really need to include Die Hards 2, 3, 4, 5. I know Die Hards 2 and 3 are generally well-liked. 4 and 5, not so much. But for this one, we're talking about Christmas movies, and there's always that debate if Die Hard is Die Hard a Christmas movie. In this case, I say it is a Christmas movie. It definitely is. And I mean, again, this is one of those movies. Do I really need to say why it should be on the collection? It's Die Hard. It's like saying, why should It's a Wonderful Life be in the collection? Because It's a Wonderful Life. Why should The Bishop's Wife be on the collection? Because it's The Bishop's Wife, you know? This is one of those movies where it's Die Hard. Do I really need to explain why Die Hard, one of the most iconic action movies of all time, the movie that has probably the most semi-remakes or whatever over time, like, it's one of those things that Die Hard, to a certain extent, has become a meme. You know, Speed is Die Hard on a boat. Yes, Under Siege is Die Hard also on a boat. Now I think about it. No, Speed is Die Hard on a bus. What am I saying? Speed is Die Hard on a bus. Under Siege is Die Hard on a boat. So what is it? Skyscraper with The Rock is Die Hard in a skyscraper. Even though this is also a skyscraper, but you get my drift. Like, it's one of those things that the template for Die Hard has been repeated time and time again, that it's almost become kind of a meme at this point. But where does the meme originate? It originates from Die Hard. Again, it's one of the most iconic movies of all time. It's one of the most iconic action movies. Forget Christmas. It's one of the most iconic action movies of all time. You know, like, what else do I need to say as to why it should be in the collection? It's Die Hard. Yippee-ki-yay. Next. Alright, next up we have Prancer from 1989. So, Prancer's one of those movies I've often heard people talk about as one of the most, or best children's Christmas movies, and I never understood it why. Part of it was just because I was younger and I thought like, oh, this is dumb, a movie about a reindeer type of thing, you know, whatever. Dumb, younger logic, right? But this year, I finally took time to watch it, and I checked out Prancer, and I'm like, wow, this is actually a really good movie. So yes, it should be on the collection. But overall, I thought this was just a very charming movie. I really very much liked it. I really liked like the almost a mystery of, is this Prancer really Prancer from Santa? Now, given the nature of the movie, I always knew in the back of my mind that, like, yes, this is gonna be that Prancer. But you know, even having that little mystery, I could see for younger kids being like, oh my gosh, you know, it's not, hey mommy, hey daddy, is that really the Prancer? Because you know, for the bulk of the movie, you just see him as a reindeer. This hurt reindeer, he's just kind of there, trying to survive, thanks to the hard works of this little girl, essentially. The one thing I will say, and this is something I did search up, and I guess I'm not the only person who's read it like this, but it's the girl, I forget her name right now, and I mean the character, not the actual actress, but the character. Is she supposed to be autistic? Like, that's one of those things that kind of popped into my mind halfway through watching the movie, and I just decided to research that very fast. Like, is she supposed to be autistic? And it's like, no, she's not supposed to be autistic, but apparently a lot of people have read into it like that. So, take that for what you will. Yeah, I thought this was just a very charming movie. It's one of those movies I almost feel guilty for not wanting to watch it earlier because of whatever dumb predisposition I had back in the day. Like, oh, this is a stupid Ranger movie. It's probably dumb. You know, like, whatever train of logic I had back in the day that prevented me from watching this movie. I'm kind of ashamed to say that, but hey, that's the truth. And overall, again, I just thought this was a very charming movie. I very much enjoyed it. I very much liked the chemistry she had between her and her father. I forgot who played her father. It's not Billy Bob Thornton, is it? Sam Elliott. It was Sam Elliott who portrayed her father. Not gonna lie, I thought the relationship was gonna go completely one way, and then it turned out to be go in a completely different direction, a direction that I actually very much enjoyed. Because for the very first scene or two, I kind of thought that he was the type of parent that just didn't care about his child, thought that his child was dumb, and just wouldn't listen to her at all. And it's not necessarily that, but it's one of those things like he's just overstressed, he's overworked, and he has very little patience. And yes, he's trying to deal with his children to the best of his abilities, but he just doesn't have the patience anymore. And not gonna lie, I almost thought it was gonna go a bit more abusive in the relationship initially based on the first couple scenes, but I very much enjoyed seeing how their relationship developed throughout the movie and how he's trying to understand his daughter. And honestly, that's part of the reason why I almost thought she was autistic at certain points in the movie. But so take that for what you will. Overall, I thought it was such a great movie. I very much enjoyed it. And yeah, I think it's one that should be in the collection. But yeah, next up, after Prancer, we have So after Prancer, we have National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Not gonna lie, I did struggle putting this one on the list. Not for the reasons you think, though. It's not because I thought it was a bad movie. Not because I didn't think it was Christmassy enough. Nothing like that. It's because this is the third movie in this series. So yeah, National Lampoon, they had 2 other movies before this movie came out. And that was my one trepidation behind this. Like, if I'm gonna add the Christmas Vacation, should I maybe add the other 2 movies that came before it? But then I realized and remembered, oh wait, this is all just a hypothetical thing. So who cares? You know? And honestly, I thought this movie was hilarious. Definitely one of the funniest Christmas movies of all time. Chevy Chase, you know, he was incredible in this movie. And part of it also has to do with the fact that around this time, I was reading some stuff about Chevy Chase and his views on religion, which are very saddening. Not gonna lie, it's very sad on what he views about religion. So it's one of those things, you know, you just keep him in your prayers. But it's one of those things like, you know, this guy who's bringing so much joy to people, but we know in real life he's such a bitter person. Like, it kind of just sucks. Like, we know who you are, and it sucks that this is the type of art that you're making because it's such great art. But like, I just wish that you were more happy. You know what I mean? But getting off of that, I mean, this is just a comedic movie. This is an overall comedic. Again, it's one of those things there. It's almost like a series of unfortunate accidents that happen time and time again. It's just hilarious because of that regard. I think it's hilarious. I think it's great. The ending where basically was it his cousin who steals his boss or who kidnaps his boss just so he could get a raise. That was hysterical. Like, that whole thing was hysterical. The thing with the Christmas tree where like, hey, did you bring the saw? Crap. They somehow managed to get a Christmas tree and then it's just like bursting out of the windows of the house. That's just hysterical. Like, there's so many elements of this movie that's just like funny, and you can definitely understand where Clark Griswold, he's just like kind of almost done with life after a while, especially towards the end of the movie. And he just has like curse out session at the end where it's like he thought he was gonna get a bonus, and his bonus is like nothing essentially. It's like honestly hilarious, honestly so funny, so relatable at times. And yeah, like, I get it. We've all wanted to curse out our managers at one point or another. I'm not gonna lie that. I'm not gonna deny that. And yeah, it's just so cathartic and so many senses in the words. And also, Johnny Galecki is in this movie for whatever reason. He's one of the children. Johnny Galecki, he's from Big Bang Theory. He portrays Leonard in Big Bang Theory, so that was pretty cool to see too. Even though I don't really remember him much in this movie, aside from just being there, pretty cool to know that he was in this movie. Next up, we have Edward Scissorhands. It's similar to what I said back with what movie was it? Placido. It's similar to what I said with Placido. The director of this movie, Tim Burton, is already on the collection with Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So why not just add another movie of his? In this case, Edward Scissorhands. I don't necessarily think this is a strictly Christmas movie, if I'm being honest with you. I think this is more of a general winter movie. There are parts of it that definitely do take place in Christmas, though. I feel like this is one of those movies that just kind of goes across many seasons. I'm pretty sure it's really primarily like during the summer. Now I think about it, the bulk of the movie is summer, and then it's just really Edward's castle that's Christmas or during. It's until winter. You keep in mind this is Tim Burton, so everything's a little bit surrealist as is already on a baseline level. But yeah, I mean, for me, Edward Scissorhands probably is my favorite Tim Burton movie to begin with. So there is some personal bias in that regard as well. But yeah, I mean, this is such a great movie. You have Vincent Price here as Edward's father, creator. So you have that too. That'd be great. I mean, overall, I think this is just a charming movie. I thought it was kind of wild for them to put Pee-wee's Big Adventure in the Criterion collection, and I still do think it's kind of wild. But if we're going to go a little bit wild, why not add Edward Scissorhands as well? I think it's a great movie. A lot of people very much enjoy it. I feel like to a certain extent, it's one of those movies that almost gets lost in Tim Burton's filmography to a certain extent because of stuff like TVs, because of stuff like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, for example. And it's one that almost to a certain extent gets lost in the shuffle. I feel like this was one of those movies where if you put it on the collection, a lot of people will very much like buy it day one. I feel like this would be a day one buy for a lot of people if you put it on the collection. Maybe even a bunch of pre-orders on top of that. So I think this is one that will benefit the collection a lot. Of course, you have Johnny Depp in this movie as well. Like, he did an incredible job, portraying that scared, almost like little boy, and then slowly him coming to be a man, but not really because he's still kind of emotionally stunted in certain extents. So I thought that was great. I've always enjoyed this movie. Again, this may probably be my favorite Tim Burton movie. I'd have to really think about it, but I'm pretty sure this would be there at number 1, if not somewhere in the top 5. But yeah, overall, just an incredible movie. And honestly, you have Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Just add this one and go from there. That's all I have to say. Next. Alright, next up we have Home Alone. I have Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. And that's all you need. You don't need any of those sequels. We don't talk about those sequels. Those sequels suck. goodbye sequels. It's only down to 2 original ones with Macaulay Culkin. And not gonna lie, there was a part of me like, should I just add Home Alone? No, let's add both Home Alone 1 and 2. I think that's what really makes the most sense. If you're gonna do a Criterion collection for Home Alone, you're gonna do both movies. I think that would make the most sense. This is one of those movies where it's like, it's Home Alone. It's Home Alone 2. Do I really need to say why this should be in the Criterion collection? It's some of the most iconic Christmas movies of all time. Do I really need to say why it should be on the collection? No. Should we just move on? Terrific. I mean, Macaulay Culkin, he gives one of the best child performances of all time, even outside of Christmas movies. I think he's one of the best child performances. This is some of the best child performances of all time. Honestly, up there with the kid who was on It Happened on Fifth Avenue. Another great child performance. I mean, again, when you talk about child performances, you talk about Macaulay Culkin. That's really what it comes down to. When you talk about Christmas movies, especially modern-ish Christmas movies, you talk about Home Alone. Like, this is one of those movies that I watch it every single year. Both of these movies I watch every single year. You have Joe Pesci here. You have Daniel Stern here. These are great. Catherine O'Hara is here. These are all great. It's Home Alone. Do I really need to say why Home Alone should be on the Criterion collection? If I need to explain it anymore, I don't know what you guys are missing. You know, it's one of the best Christmas movies of all time. Both of them, some of the best Christmas movies of all time. Next. Next up, we have The Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach. I'll be honest, originally, I just had Nightmare Before Christmas here, but then I kind of remembered James and the Giant Peach, and I thought it would make for a decent combo pack with this movie. The Nightmare Before Christmas, that's a movie that's often debated. Is it a horror movie? Is it not a horror movie? Is it a Christmas movie? Is it not a Christmas movie? Is it a Halloween movie? Is it not a Halloween movie? And then James and the Giant Peach, I feel like we could all safely say that's a Thanksgiving movie. I don't really think there's much of a debate on that. So, you know, with these two movies, you basically cover the last 3 months of the year with October, November, and December. So honestly, just kind of makes sense. Also, they're both produced by Tim Burton. I was just talking about with Edward Scissorhands how you need to have more Tim Burton on the collection. Here you add some more Tim Burton. Granted, not directed by him, but still produced by him. And I think it'd be great. I'll be honest, I do need to rewatch James and the Giant Peach. I haven't seen it in a good minute. I think it still works either way. I mean, you have here with Nightmare Before Christmas, again, pretty decent double pack. I will say, and this is more of a personal thing when it comes to Tim Burton and his animated movies, whether it be directed like The Corpse Bride or produced like, in this case, Christmas. But I'm usually not the biggest fan of his animated stuff. I don't know, there's a certain part of me that just kind of is a little bit bored when I'm watching his animated works. So take that for what you will. Like Coraline, that one's a chore to get through. I'll be honest with you. I cannot get through Coraline in one sitting. I always end up falling asleep in Coraline, so there's that too. But you know what? I know a lot of people like it. I know that my opinion on this is really just a hot take. So just add it to the collection. And again, you cover the last 3 months of the year. And you have more Tim Burton. It's a win-win situation either way you see it. Also, you get to add more animation into the collection, which is something that I've been saying with the Christmas collection that I talked about previously, where you need to have more animation into the collection. This one will just give it more of a boost into that animation genre that they are sorely missing and lacking in, because they only have like 10 movies tops in the Criterion collection that are animated. So just add these two. Granted, James and the Giant Peach is like half animation, half real life. But still, you can add more animation into this with this collection and it'd be great. Next. Alright, next up from 1999, we have The Devil's Arithmetic. This is another Jewish movie, honestly. This is actually a World War II movie, if I'm being honest with you, like a Holocaust movie. It's one of those movies I just wanted to talk about, and I felt like this would be a kind of appropriate time to talk about it. Again, it's not that Christmassy, I'll be honest with you. I mean, one, it's Jewish holiday stuff, and two, it's Holocaust movie. So I understand if this is kind of an out of left field pick, but for me, this is a movie I've always enjoyed. It's based on the book as well. And basically the plot of this movie, it's this girl who she's celebrating Hanukkah because she doesn't understand her family traditions. She somehow is transported back to like 1945, right before her, and she meets her grandma. Her grandma younger self, and it turns out that she is the childhood friend of her grandma, or she's in the body of her childhood friend, of her grandma's childhood friend, better said. And it's basically the story of these two girls in 1945 surviving the concentration camps, surviving Nazi-occupied Germany throughout this time until one day they both can't survive anymore. And that's basically the plot of this movie. And it's one of those movies, well, first off, reading the book, because I read this in middle school. I believe it was middle school, maybe elementary school, I don't remember right now. But, you know, reading this when I was young, like, that really impacted me. But then watching the movie as well, like, it's one of those things that sometimes watching is better than just reading. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you. And this is one of those situations where, like, just watching this story really impacted me. There's so many great moments here, especially towards the end where she has to sacrifice herself to save her grandma. Essentially, it was just incredible. And you really see the transformation in this girl, from being almost a non-believer, you could say, in the traditions and Hanukkah and what that's supposed to mean to her. That, to her at the very end of the movie, believing in these traditions, believing everything her grandma says, believing everything about just, I guess you could say, the history of, or their family history, better said. It's just incredible. I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kristen Dunst portrays the main girl in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. So you have that too, which is pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure this is also a TV movie. Pretty sure. And again, how many TV movies do you have on the Criterion Collection? Not that many. So overall, I think this would be a very interesting pick for the Criterion Collection. It's one of those movies that I feel like not many people have heard of. And it's one of those things I can't even use like the midnight excuse, because, like I said, it's a movie that not many people have heard of. It's not a movie that was even that popular back in the day, all things considered. So I think this is one of those movies that, through the Criterion Collection, will literally just grow and build its audience based off the Criterion Collection alone, if it were to be added into the collection. So I think it'd be great. Honestly, I think if this were to be added into the collection, for me, this would be like a day one buy for me. Honestly, this would be a day one buy for me. It'd be great. Next up, we have Elf. I'd probably say that Elf is probably the most well-known, most popular modern Christmas movie post-2000s. It'd have to be Elf. And even the ones I have after this, I don't think hold a candle to what Elf has done in the past 25 years in terms of Christmas movies. It's one of those movies. This is like Home Alone. Do I really need to explain why Elf should be on the collection? It's Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell gives one of his best performances in this movie. Do I really need to say why this should be in the collection? Can we just move on? We know it's great. We know James Caan does a great job here. Of course, we know Buddy the Elf is great. He's iconic. One of the best endings to a movie ever. One of the most hysterical endings to a movie ever. With them just writing off what everybody wants for Christmas, coming out the news reporter right there on live TV that she wants to marry her boyfriend and all that. Like, so many great movie moments here. Where the kid tells his father, "Hey, can you please sing so we can save Christmas," and all that. Again, it's Elf. Do I really need to say why Elf should be on the collection? Probably not. Let's go to the next one. Next up, also from 2003, we have Tokyo Godfather, another animated movie, and this is not the last animated movie. Actually, this actually starts a small little series. This one and the next two movies are all animated movies. So I really did focus on a lot of animation for this list, but didn't realize that till now. Yeah, Tokyo Godfather, I think this is one of those movies that a lot of people really talk highly about this movie, and I'll be honest, I've never seen this movie up until now. And yeah, I understand why they talk so highly about this movie. It's definitely a movie that really should be better known, I'll be honest. Like, it's one of those things, like, unless you know anime, unless you know your anime movies, you probably never heard about this movie. I mean, you have these group of three homeless people, all of them with their own personal issues. One of them is a runaway teenager. The other one's this father who abandoned his child. You have this other person who's like struggling with their gender identity, whatever, and they're all tasked by circumstance to take care of this baby. And then every single step they take to try to reunite the baby with its family, they always fail because there's always some shenanigans that ensues. And it's such a great movie. It's one of those things that you get the backstory of these main characters, and you understand why each of these three characters are homeless, why you understand why they make the decisions that they make. It's such a great movie. It's one of those things that I genuinely felt bad for every single character who was in this movie, because, like, wow, I know what your backstory is, and you're making me feel your backstory. Like, sometimes we're told the backstory of a character, and we're like, okay, cool, that's whatever. But here, we're seeing the backstory. We understand why they feel like that. And yes, there are a few times where the backstory is maybe not as properly explained, but over the course of the movie, you understand why still that backstory is the backstory that they have. It's such a great movie, and the fact that they're tasked with protecting this baby throughout the Christmas holiday is honestly hysterical, because these are like the last people you would want to take care of a child. Yet, lo and behold, they're the people taking care of this child, trying to make sure that this child doesn't die out there in the Tokyo winter. And it's just honestly very heartwarming, very very heartwarming, very fun, very exciting, very hysterical. And again, I just go back to that word, heartwarming. It's very heartwarming. You know, to a certain extent, it's one of those movies where, like, yes, miracles do happen. It doesn't matter where it's at, whether it be on 34th Street or here on Tokyo Street. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that these miracles are happening. It's just great. Fantastic. Next movie. Next up, we have Frozen. Yes, let it go, that Frozen. For me, this is kind of a Christmas movie. It's definitely a winter movie. And like I said at the beginning of the list, this isn't solely for Christmas movies. We had a Thanksgiving movie. We've had a couple Jewish movies. We've had a couple Jesus movies. So why not have just a random winter movie thrown into the mix? I mean, here, Disney already isn't opposed to having their movies on the Criterion channel. They have WALL-E right there on the Criterion collection, so they're not opposed to it. And I will say, in the past, 10, 15 years, Frozen is probably the best movie they've had. And I'm only going to say the first Frozen. I don't think the second Frozen necessarily needs to be on the Criterion collection. I don't really think they need a double packet and have both Frozens there. I think just the one Frozen, the first Frozen, will be enough. And I think a lot of people, I mean, it's Disney, it's Frozen. A lot of people love this movie still. People will definitely buy this day one, pre-order this up the wazoo. I think they'll make bank if they have this in the collection straight up. And again, this is one of those movies. It's Frozen. It's one of Disney's most iconic movies. It's one of Disney's best selling movies of the past 10 to 15 years. Do I really need to say why Frozen should be on the Criterion channel? I think the only thing with this is that, or the only reason I would need to defend it is if I'm comparing this to other Disney movies. Like, does Frozen deserve to be there over, like, let's say Snow White? Probably not. I think Snow White should be on the Criterion collection, to be honest with you. Does it deserve to be there over The Lion King? There we can have an argument about, to be honest with you. But, I feel like if we're just talking winter movies, I mean, Frozen, might as well have it there. It's a great winter movie. Again, you add more animation into the Criterion collection. And again, it's one of Disney's most beloved movies, period. Whether it be winter or Christmas or anything else, it's one of the most beloved movies of all time, period, especially in the past 10, 15 years. Elsa and Anna have become iconic characters in their own right. People love them. So much so that they were even in that Once Upon a Time show on like ABC or whatever it was, a few seasons back. Like, that's how iconic these characters have become. It's incredible. It's great. Again, do I really need to explain why Frozen should be in the collection? Not really, but here we are. Next. And last but not least, I have Klaus from 2019, which is the Netflix movie. And for this one, I decided to do a double pack between Klaus and The Year Without Santa from 1974. That's an animated short film. If anything, I think that one could just be like a bonus feature, because it is a short film. It's like a hour-long short film. And just like the title says, it's The Year Without Santa Claus. Klaus, the one I'm talking about, the Netflix movie from 2019, Klaus, that's all about the beginnings, the origins of Santa. Whereas The Year Without Santa, as the title says, it's The Year Without Santa. So it'd be kind of a funny dichotomy, so to speak, of having one movie where it's like the beginning of Christmas, and the other movie is like the end of Christmas in the most extreme way possible. So I think that's why I paired them up together for this collection. Again, you can have this as a collection. You can have The Year Without Santa as a bonus feature. For me, it doesn't really matter, but I just feel it'd be pretty funny to have that on the collection as well. And Klaus is such an incredible movie. It is one I do need to rewatch. I'll admit that much. I do need to rewatch because I've only seen it the one time a few years back. But overall, it's a movie that a lot of people really enjoy. It's one of those movies that has basically become a modern classic, especially in the field of animation, especially when it comes to Christmas movies. So I think it's one of those movies that a lot of people would definitely enjoy. And yes, it's a Netflix movie, but Netflix isn't opposed to having their movies on the collection. They do have a Marriage Story on the collection as well, so you have that avenue as well. And I think it's one of those movies that a lot of people would generally like. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if it will be a day one buy for a lot of people, but I do think over time, people will definitely come to it. It's one of those things that we would love to see the behind the scenes features of how this was made with the animation and all that. I think it'd be great. I think it's one of those things that a lot of people would enjoy, generally speaking. I almost feel like this is one of those movies where I almost want to compare it to like The Wild Robot, honestly, where if it was on the collection, it'd be kind of a slow burn. Like, people would definitely buy it, but it'd be a bit of a slow burn hit on Criterion. I almost feel like it would take that kind of trajectory. I'm trying to think of other movies that are kind of like a slow burn hit on the collection. I'm trying to think, like, maybe, I don't know, like, I'm inclined to say like something like Cairo Station maybe is kind of a slow burn hit on the collection, to be honest with you, because it's definitely one of those movies that like a lot of people knew about, but not many people picked up right off the bat, from what I understand. And people have really been picking it up in the past couple of months now that it's out. So take that for what you will. I feel like that's the trajectory Klaus would have if it was in the collection. It'd be a kind of a slow burn hit. Added with The Year Without Santa Claus as a bonus feature or as a double feature, however you want to do it feature, I think it'd be great. It'd be pretty funny. It'd be a pretty funny collection to have a movie that's all about the origins of Christmas in a movie about the death of Christmas, almost. It'd be kind of funny. And now, last but not least, what's the last movie I think that should be on the Criterion Collection? We have The Holdovers from 2 years ago, from 2023, almost 3 years ago, I guess, since we're about to enter 2026. For me, this was such a great movie. I'm pretty sure this was like my #1 favorite movie of 2023, or if not, definitely the top 5. For me, this was such an emotionally impactful movie. It's one of those movies that honestly just hit me like a gut punch, given everything that was going on with Dominic Sessa's character and his whole family relationships. Granted, although I definitely don't struggle with the same issues that he has with his father, it's one of those things, again, for me, this year has really been one of those things where, like, anything I see where it's like a son struggling with their father, it kind of just hits me a little bit deeper now. And it's one of those things, like I saw scenes from this movie and it just started to hit me a little bit more deeper now, you know, because I know my dad, granted, he's not sick in the same way that Dominic Sessa's character's, his father's sick in this movie, but, you know, my dad with cancer, he's still sick, and the fact that I could lose him in some respect does still affect me in that regard. How Dominic Sessa, he's basically losing his father because of mental illness. That still got me. You know, you have so many great moments here throughout this movie. I mean, for God's sakes, you have Divine Joy Randolph. She basically swept the Oscar season for portraying the cook here, the kitchen staff. Here, I forget her character's name right now, but she basically swept the Oscar season. I mean, it's such an incredible movie. I mean, Paul Giamatti. Honestly, if not for what Oppenheimer was, Paul Giamatti probably would have won the Oscar for best actor in a movie. You know, if not for Oppenheimer. I mean, that's how incredible this movie is. I'll be honest, like, The Holdovers is definitely one of my favorite movies of the past 5 years. It's definitely one of my favorite movies of that year, 2023. And honestly, it's one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time as well. Like, straight up, that's how much of a great movie this movie is. It's only been out for just a handful of years, you know, and it's already become like a modern classic, and not just to me, but to a lot of people. It's one of those movies that's become a modern classic, and I feel like over time, modern classicity of this movie, so to speak, the infamy, not infamy, but like the popularity of this movie will just continue to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. It's such an incredible movie, it's such a heartwarming movie, such a heart-touching movie, and I absolutely love it. Honestly, it's such a great movie. And if this were to be on the collection for me, this would be a day one buy for me. Like, instantly, I would buy this. I'd probably pre-order, and I don't really like to pre-order, but that's one of those movies I'd probably pre-order, if I'm being completely honest with you. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, have this movie on the list, and it'd be great. And alright, that's basically the end of our list for this go-around. So yeah, those are all the movies. Like I said, 30-ish movies. I did have a lot of collections here this go-around. Again, I just felt like I didn't have enough for a collection video this go-around, but still want to mention a few extra movies here and there, and there you have it. Overall, it's such a great list. Again, I decided to do this not just for Christmas, but I want to include some other stuff. Of course, I had Thanksgiving right there. I had a few of the Hanukkah movies right there, as well as our more Jewish-based movies right there, just some general winter movies here on the collection. But again, I did mostly try to stick it to just purely Christmas movies, but with some add-ons every here and there. But overall, that's my list for this go-around. You know, what are your thoughts? Are there any other Christmas movies that you think should be on the collection? Not gonna lie, one movie I really thought that should be on the collection was Batman Returns. But I feel like that one, even with my hypothetical, it's a little bit of a stretch too far if you don't have the original Batman in the collection as well. So take that for what you will. Overall, it's such a fun time making this list. Even though I am currently sick, which I'm pretty sure you guys can hear, but yeah, I am sick right now. So that is the one downside to making this list and now having to edit this. It is what it is. So I do know that this came out after Christmas. This video came out after Christmas, so, you know, kind of just another one of those it is what it is situations. You know, Merry Christmas, y'all, and Happy New Year. Hoping you guys had it and are enjoying this holiday season, this festive season. And remember, Christmas isn't just about watching movies. It's not about opening the presents. It's about God. It's about the birth of our Savior. And just have that in mind no matter what and anything that you do for this week, this last week, right before the new year. That's all I want to say. And yeah, that's basically it for now. This is Daniel Mart signing off.